Since the first World's Strongest Man in 1977, there has been an obvious need to amuse spectators while also challenging athletes, and this demand is still present in today's sports culture. Actually, it's not unusual to still see something amazing. A 25,000-pound neon green monster truck was pushed by competitors at the 2019 World's Strongest Man competition at Bradenton, Florida. Real competition feats have included pulling airplanes with athletes, anchor drags, and yoke walks with motorcycles. In the past, the World's Strongest Man competition has utilized several highly dubious events in order to excite people WSM. Because of their freshness and originality, these incidents have become part of the strongman legend. Today, we take a close look at them from the sausage hole to the Murderball. Here's a list of the weirdest things that have ever happened during the World's Strongest Man competition without further ado. But first, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Franco and the refrigerator. An unusual mixture of bodybuilders, powerlifters, and even a martial artist competed in the first WSM competition in 1977. The first show served as a proving ground for novel concepts and challenges because strongman was not yet a recognized sport. As a result, competitors had to push press kegs, bend iron bars over their heads, and, as is well known, sprint against one another while carrying a refrigerator. What once appeared like a decent idea quickly became a catastrophe. Franco Columbu was a contestant that year. Columbu was a very powerful man in his own right and was better recognized for his bodybuilding accomplishment, but that did little to help him during the competition. After competing against Bob Young for around 10 seconds, Franco's knees gave up. One of the worst strongman injuries ever captured on camera involved Franco breaking his leg. It served as a forewarning that spectacle and safety must coexist. Kaz and the Girl Squad. On paper, the refrigerator race looked like a wonderful idea, but in practice it was difficult. The 1980 WSM saw the birth of the Girl Squad, which was simply plain strange. Playboy girls were used as the weights in the squat lift that year in an effort to add some glitz to the occasion. Bill Casimir then ran into this odd marketing concept. At that year's competition, three-time World's Strongest Man champion, Casimir recorded his first ever victory. In addition, Casimir outperformed Lars Hedlund, coming in second with 102.5 points to Casimir's 74. Casimir was known for his competitive ferocity, which will be discussed further. His serious demeanor during the girl squat lift was an odd juxtaposition to what was supposed to be a humorous event. Sumo wrestling. The sumo wrestling competition amongst competitors is frequently included in renowned WSM tournaments. This year, which was a part of the 1982 WSM competition, was Kaz's final triumph in the competition before he was banished for a while. He eventually made a comeback in 1988, but by that time he had lost his title as the world's strongest man, although he did get close. At the WSM, physical confrontations between competitors are common, and to be honest, they frequently make for excellent television. Other WSM events in previous years have included arm wrestling, tug-of-war, and Murderball, which we'll talk about later. Sumo wrestling is where many spectators and athletes draw the line. As a side note, sumo wrestling is a highly specialized sport that requires years of practice to really master. Having ranked amateurs compete was a bad idea, but they were powerful enough to make it entertaining. Many of the competitors had trouble juggling the power and athleticism required to win. The only bright spot was how seriously Kaz treated an incident that was admittedly humorous. The cheddar cheese deadlift. The athletes' reactions are a big part of what makes the WSM fun, especially during the stranger obstacles. The first competition in which the legendary Icelandic heavyweight John Paul Sigmarsson competed was in 1983, who won in 1984, 1986, 1988, 1990. Sigmarsson, who was brimming with personality and frequently sparred with the champion that year, Geoff Capes, exploited every occasion to remind followers of his Viking heritage and claim to the crown. Sigmarsson was so confident that he even performed the cheese deadlift, a half deadlift that involved carrying chunks of cheese. This event, which weighed in at 525 kilograms, was both difficult and delectable. Sigmarsson came in second place behind Canadian powerlifter Tom McGee, who lifted 1,180 pounds in the cheese deadlift. The strongman sledge ride. The 1984 WSM competition, which was held in Sweden and was won by Sigmarsson, aimed to test athletes by utilizing regional customs and weather. It was one of the most amazing matches in history and Sigmarsson's maiden WSM title win. In 1984, athletes lifted massive Irish blocks, pulled trucks through the snow, and lifted massive stones inside warm wooden huts. Undoubtedly, it was the most atmospheric WSM ever. it was undoubtedly among the chilly shows on the record. The sledge push stood out among all the events. For time, athletes pulled hefty sledges pulled by passengers through the snow. This event is exceptional for two reasons. The first is Ab Walders falling just before crossing the finish line, and the second is that no one tried to slow the sledges down. The sledges and their passengers were instead hurled into the snowbanks by the strongman. British strongman Jeff Capes, who was going for a second WSM championship, won the competition in 16.9 seconds. Even better, he accomplished it without causing any injuries to anyone. Having fun? Then go like, share, and subscribe right away. The Strongman Sausage Hold. The 1988 WSM was a competition that saw Casimir return to the WSM, a fierce rivalry between competitors Casimir and Sigmarsson, and enough silliness to keep the competition enjoyable as a whole. To their credit, WSM organizers make an effort to incorporate regional traditions into their performances. This explains why the 1988 Budapest Games included a Hungarian sausage hold. A bar weighing 56 pounds of local salami had to be held at shoulder height by competitors with their arms straight. Casimir versus Sigmarsson was the central conflict in this competition. The two sparred constantly, and many people have called it Kaz's most ferocious performance to date. This was demonstrated when Kaz was disqualified from the sausage hold competition by referee David Webster for failing to maintain straight arms. Casimir addressed even the oddest situations with a sense of solemnity, much like the Playgirl squad. Jamie Reeves, a British powerlifter, triumphed in the forward hold competition, and Sigmarsson took first place overall that year. Power and pole pushing. The 1994 WSM pole push was a peculiar fusion of sport, power, and technique, much like the sumo wrestling competition that took place in 1982. The sport itself will be most remembered for the intense competition between Austrian strongman Manfred Hoberl and Icelander Magnus Vern Magnusson. Magnus had placed second in the two prior WSM events, but he did well enough to win his second of a total of 4 championships, 1991, 1994 to 96. In a close match, Magnus prevailed over Manfred by 1 point. The pole push contributed to the contest's notoriety as well. In Sun City, South Africa, competitors grabbed hold of the same big wooden pole and used only brute force to eject their rivals from the competition area. This event was far more competitive than the sumo competition. Given the athletes' intensity, the only surprise was that there weren't more accidents. Riku Kiri, a competitor from Finland, deserves all the credit for winning the challenging knockout format. Of muscles and Murderball. At the 1994 WSM, pole pushing demonstrated how entertaining physical prowess and strength displays could be when strongmen competed against one another. There was a lot of anticipation for a similarly interesting fight in 1995. Magnus, who won his 3rd overall and 2nd consecutive WSM title, was the star of this year as well. The Murderball had its debut and final appearance at the 1995 World Sports Meeting. The Murderball, a huge globe filled with 100 gallons of water, was something that WSM competitors had to push against in an effort to move the ball into their opponent's half. The competition, which was held on sand, might rightfully rank among the most taxing challenges ever encountered by athletes. The Danish strongman Flemming Rasmussen is the undisputed champion because Murderball never came back. Sledge push. The venue of World's Strongest Man undoubtedly contributed to one of the oddest happenings that occurred there. The competition was conducted in Mora, Sweden in the wintertime in 1984, unlike almost every other iteration before or since. The unusual environment allowed the organizers to push the envelope with some bizarre activities, including a truck pull in a frozen lake and an ice block loading race. That year, athletes had to contend with sub-zero temperatures and thick snow. The sledge push, though, is unquestionably the oddest of all. 4 athletes queued up to carry a sleigh with passengers as quickly as they could down an icy 80-meter track. Car flip. The automobile flip is the last strange occurrence on the list. The car walk is still a common occurrence in strongman contests, as you may have witnessed if you attended Europe's Strongest Man at First Direct Arena or watched it on television. The car flip existed before the car walk, which was originally introduced in 1994. Just flip the car over and go on to the next one. Aren't these crazy? That's the end of this video. Let's know which ones did you find the strangest. Also, click on the video on the screen, the 10 weirdest comedy score competitions for men. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye!